What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Perhaps. It's Lent still. We're in the middle of this series going through some different themes that commonly get talked about during Lent, but giving my own take on it and thinking a little bit bigger beyond the spiritual religious stuff. And really, we're just having fun. I was literally just thinking earlier today that I can't believe that we're in the middle of this series where I'm talking about Lent, because today I was actually unsure about today's episode and how I could put it together. And I was thinking, like, wow, I really made myself talk about Lent every week and up until Good Friday and Easter, which we still got some time until. But it's also fun. It's like, it happened so fast when I decided when Ash Wednesday came. It was like, let's just do a Lent series. That sounds cool. Okay. And now we're in it. Now I got to do it. But that's what's cool about having a podcast is like, sure, let's do it. This isn't going to be forever. So if some of you don't like some of this, like, more explicitly religious stuff, I do want to, I mean, the religious stuff is always going to be around because it's a part of my life, but we're going to continue expanding. Talk more about, I mean, each week of this series, and you should check out each episode in this series. If you don't realize, each episode in this series, I wonder if you caught it, I add a little "It's Lent" in the title. That's how you know. So go back and check these out. But I've really been getting like real psychological, not just like religious, but psychological in this whole series. And we're going to continue on that journey. But we'll also have other episodes where we get more into like culture and what's happening right now. But let's get through this series. We're having fun. I'm having fun. I hope you are. Thank you for listening. And so today we're talking about humility. Let's talk about humility. That's a big thing in Lent. Also in like a lot of religious environments, people talk a lot about needing to be humble. And I used to think I had an issue with pride. Since I was a young teenager, that's actually what some of my church leaders when I was in evangelical told me I had an issue with, was pride. And it made me very afraid. And I was constantly questioning myself and wondering, like, how do I get rid of this? I can't even see it all the time. And then many years later, and when I mean many years later, I mean like just barely over the last few years, I'm 32 now, I realized very slowly that I think it was actually just the people around me that were afraid and uncomfortable, really, with the way that I expressed myself and wanted to make me feel like I needed to shrink myself to make them more comfortable. So that's what we're going to talk about today, folks. We're going to talk about that and how to figure out if you really need to be more humble or if you need to stop shrinking yourself for others. We're going to get deep, everybody. Every week we've been getting deep. I've been having fun, like I said. By the way, follow me if you haven't already on Instagram at whoisdamon. I usually post updates over there. And then we have video version, audio version of this. Go check it out. Patreon, if you want to support this podcast, patreon.com/Damon Garcia. You can support me on there, and we're starting to do monthly bonus episodes on there. So check it all out. Thank you for being here. Now, let's go all the way. If you're still here, then I appreciate you, because I mean I've been seeing a couple people leave a few comments about how much they've appreciated like getting more deep. I have a homie that I just saw his comment that said like, this is like therapy, which is funny. I mean, it's cool and great to hear, but what's also kind of funny about it is some of the stuff I've been talking about over the last few weeks is things that I've learned in therapy. And we're going to stay on that level of depth in this episode when we talk about humility. Now, these thoughts, oh yeah, and we're talking about during Lent. Let's get this out of the way, because like I said, it's a common theme talked about in Lent and in church, but some of you may have this experience in church, is a kind of forced humility and a fake humility, where if you do something good and you're proud of yourself, a church leader may tell you, like, hey, come on, it's all God. Or you may have complimented a minister and like, hey, that was a really good talk, or you did really good at that. And they immediately quiet you and point to the sky and say, it's all God. It's all God. Which feels like humility and at the same time feels like stomping on the hard work that you do and the passion you bring and the value you bring to your community. Oh, nope, no. It's all God. And it's like, oh man, sometimes it like almost has the same energy as when you compliment a friend, like how they look. Like, oh, you look really nice. And it's like, no, I look terrible. And I think there is a through line that connects those types of reactions. And that's what we're going to talk about. And so I started putting these thoughts together actually a couple of years ago when I was journaling through some of my frustrations I was having with something. And so when I decided I wanted to talk about this whole humility thing, I went back and looked at my journal, and then I just put them all together as a bunch of notes in this very big outline. Last week, I had barely an outline at all. I think I just had like 2 sentences and just rolled with it. This week is the exact opposite. I'm looking to my side here, and I have a lot of words on a screen. So you might see me looking over here, but it's just so I can organize my thoughts, you know? I'm just one of those type of people. So let's do it. Journaling, you know? What I was frustrated with when I was journaling this a couple years ago was how, as a writer and as a creative person, which I've always been my entire life, I started to get frustrated with other writers and other creative people who would by the way that they would talk about their own work. And it seemed like they were too afraid of seeming like they had an inflated ego. And in order to combat that, they would self-deprecate while promoting their work. They would self-deprecate. They would crap on themselves while telling people, please check out my work. Like, I remember seeing someone post, hey guys, please subscribe to my stupid Substack. my blog, my newsletter, my writing. It sucks, but I'd appreciate it if you checked it out. Thanks. And it's like, when you read something like that, it makes you think, why would we? Why would I? You just told me it sucks. Why would I? And I get it. I get that perspective that some writers get, where it's like writing can be hard, and it could be even harder to share your work. And when you share it, it feels like, it could have been better. It didn't turn out the way I thought about it in my head. I'm not good. I don't want people to, and then it comes out, and you just want to like pad it with those insults on yourself and your work. And it's like, how about you say, hey, I worked really hard on this and I think you all will enjoy it. I know some of you probably listening to that just immediately made you cringe inside because of how scary that would be to say something like that about your work. It's easy, and it feels so much safer to be like, hey, this isn't that great, it kind of sucks, and I'm not that good at what I do, but can you please check this out? That's so much safer than, hey, I worked hard on this, I spent time on this, I think you would enjoy this, I think you would get value from this, I think you may learn a lot from what I made. That's scary to some of you. I know it's scary, and I get it. I've been there, okay? And we're gonna go deeper on like some of what's going on in people's heads when they talk like this about themselves. But first I want to share like some of my frustrations. Or sometimes I would see after someone reaches a huge milestone, like a certain amount of subscribers or followers or book sales or whatever. And they'll post like, I like it. I would see on Substack. By the way, I have a Substack for those that don't know. I just started writing on there again recently. It's called The Lure. DamonGarcia.substack.com, I think is what it is. Just search Damon Garcia Substack. It's all there. So you can find some more of my writing over there. But that's also why I'm talking about Substack, because I'm seeing all these other people on Substack. And yeah, for those who don't know, Substack is like a newsletter platform, but it also functions like a blog. So it's basically like a blog. So if you don't know what Substack is, just think of it like a blog. But anyway, I would say after a huge milestone, someone would post, "I can't believe anyone actually reads this. I'm so thankful for you all. I'm so thankful. I can't believe anyone actually reads this." It's almost like they're leaving out the word crap. Like, I can't believe anyone actually reads this crap. I'm so thankful. And again, it feels fake humble. It's like I keep seeing this, some writers and creative people in general, and it's not just creative stuff. Like you see this all the time in the way that people talk about their own efforts. But I would see this vibe of like, hey, I really suck at writing and I'm just like terrible in general, and my writing is just like unhinged rants and ramblings, but I would really appreciate it if you read it. OMG, I can't believe people actually read my silly little thing. Thank you so much for putting up with me. Like, that's the energy I sense in these types of posts. And so when I try to get to the bottom of like, what am I really frustrated about? Because of course, when something like this frustrates you, it's important to think, okay, but why is it frustrating me? Don't stay too long on like just crapping on other people and being like, they're annoying for this and that and this and that. You should be able to stop and think, okay, but why is it annoying to me specifically? Why am I getting so bent out of shape about this? What is it about me that gets bothered by something like this? And so I think part of it is like realizing that, like, yeah, I've worked hard at trying to get better at writing and speaking and communicating and put my stuff out there. And I realize like some of the ways I've grown around the way that I think about my own work. And sometimes I'm afraid of losing some of the ways that I've grown. So I think that there's parts of that affect me. I can see myself in these people that I see like self-deprecating. I have an issue of self-deprecation as well, except I don't share it publicly, mostly because I feel like it's not, it's like, what was the word? It works against myself, you know? If I want people to actually check out my Substack, my YouTube channel, my podcast, my book. And so, first of all, I think what would really frustrate me is knowing that these people clearly work hard to write well, just like I do. But they seem like they want to hide it. And that's weird. And like I said, I get not being comfortable with it and feeling like it could be better. But if you don't care about it, other people won't either. If you don't express that it's that you think it's good, like if you don't believe in it, rather, other people won't either. Secondly, I think what really frustrated me is it seemed like people were putting on a show to protect themselves, really. It's like they don't want to get caught celebrating their own writing or celebrating their own efforts. But what is that? Why do we do that? Why are we so uncomfortable with celebrating ourselves? On the surface, this behavior could just seem kind of annoying, even maybe a little manipulative. But on a deeper level, there's a larger psychological issue people are having when they're self-deprecating like this so much constantly. Like, and it's bigger. When we go a level deeper, I think what we see is people are afraid. We're afraid. What are we afraid of? A couple things. First off, I think we're afraid of criticism. It's like if you call yourself talentless or describe your work as terrible and just low effort ramblings that aren't well thought out, and then nobody can say anything bad about you or your work. It's like the end of 8 Mile. Like I'm gonna diss myself first so that nobody else could diss me. What is that last line in the rap battle? Da, 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 ba, I'm outie. I'm a poor white boy. I'm outie. Tell these people something they don't know about me. Throws the mic to Papa Doc. And everyone's like, oh! Classic. It's almost like people are saying, here's something I worked really hard on to the point that I was proud enough to share it, but it's terrible and I'm terrible. Please check it out, though. Don't hurt me. Don't criticize me. I already did it. Now you can't say anything, and it feels safe. And it's, like I said, trying to protect yourself. But I think you end up working against yourself when you talk like that about yourself. Like I said, if you don't believe in it, nobody else will. But I think the other thing that's really frustrating for me to see is that people are afraid of seeming like they have a big ego. And even sometimes feels like people would rather be accused of being bad than be accused of thinking that they're better than they really are. Sometimes that's even more scary. To have people criticize you for thinking you're hot shit when you're not. Thinking you're all that. They think they're so good, but they suck. But they think they're so good. They think that this is good, but it's not. Oh my God, that's terrifying. And personally, I feel like I know when something is good. It seems like I feel like I do. And I'm proud of that. But I also recognize I do have to be careful with the way that I share that. Because I'm kind of like hating on my fellow creative people for wanting to protect themselves from criticism. But criticism is a real thing. People do say things like that. People do accuse you of thinking you're better than you actually are. Like there's a level to this that's like, this is all in your head. Don't think about it. People aren't going to think those things about you. It's okay. But then there's another angle where it's like, oh yeah, no, people will say that. That is a thing. And I think it's because there's a general cultural anxiety around not wanting to seem like you have an inflated ego, not wanting to seem like you think you're better than you actually are, not wanting to seem prideful or even narcissistic. That feels terrifying. But the way I've worked through that is by finding people that I can actually share that part of myself with. And I have to be careful with who I celebrate, because I don't think I can fully express how I feel about my own work to everybody. But it's really because, people don't know me all the way, you know? And it's like, I would rather just express those parts to people I feel safe with. And I'm talking about both parts. The part where I can say like, yeah, I just think this sucks. This isn't my best work. I don't think I did a good job. I just don't got it anymore, or it's just not working. instead of sharing that publicly, making people feel like, well, then what are we here for? What are you doing this for then? I have friends that I could share that with when I feel that way. And then when I'm like really proud of something and feel like, oh no, this is it. This is like the best. I have my friends that I could celebrate those things with, or certain milestones I've come across building this platform, or putting out a book, and reaching different milestones of getting that book out there. I have a group of friends that I'm able to celebrate that with and go all the way and honest and talk in a way that if some of you heard me talk like that, you'd probably think I had a big head, that I was that I think I'm better than I actually am. And that's why I got to find my people. It makes me think there was this old Pete Holmes joke, this comedian who said something about Joel Osteen, the super big televangelist, megachurch pastor, preacher. He said, something like, do you think that Joel Osteen ever finishes a sermon? And he gives these huge sermons to thousands, tens of thousands of people in this huge stadium every Sunday, and then way more people watching the video of it. And he was like, do you ever think he just finishes a sermon, goes backstage, and is by himself or with a friend, and he just says, that's how you do it, motherfucker. And he said, I remember hearing him talk about it and saying, like, some people were offended by that. But it's also, I think, creative people, when they hear that, they get it. And it's like, of course, he has to. Or he's not human if he doesn't. Like, Joel Osteen needs someone in his life that he could say, that's how you do it, motherfucker. I'm the best. I'm the GOAT. Do you know who I am? And it's like, yes, there is this level of like, bro, stop talking so highly of yourself. It's cringe. And then there's just other levels like, but look at what you're doing, bro. Like, let's take a moment to forget like all the problematic things about Joel Osteen's theology and teachings and greed and all this other stuff. Let's take that away for a second. But it's like when you're able to put in so much effort and succeed, you need to have a space where you can be honest about being proud of it without the fear of people being like, hey, bro, come on, don't talk too highly of yourself. And why do we even have those thoughts of like that it's cringe to talk so highly of yourself? Like, I want to complicate this idea. I'm kind of like going back and forth here on these two angles because I want it to be more nuanced. I want to untangle some of our thoughts around this. What is it that feels like cringe when people talk so highly of themselves and makes us feel like we need to put them in check? I think sometimes we project our own anxiety about having too big of an ego onto others. And we need to chill out. I have a friend who has always been super supportive and encouraging of me. And he's also really aware of the work I do and the like impact that it's had on other people. And he's really aware of other people doing similar work and talks to a lot of people. And every once in a while, he would tell me about meeting people that were really impacted by my work, either like the YouTube stuff or my book, and really like my book and were sharing it with others. And they would tell him about me, and he would be like, oh yeah, that's my friend. So it would just be like a cool story, and that he would share with me like 2 or 3 times. But then he would add, I don't want you to get a big head, but... And then he would tell me this story of this really encouraging, inspiring story about me doing good. But it's like, but I don't want you to get a big head though. Don't let this go to your head, man. And I told him one day, like, I don't like when you say that. Because it reminds me of back in the day where these pastors would be like, it's all God. No, don't say anything good about yourself. It's all God. And then he stopped and it was chill. But I remember I also had a really old friend who I don't talk to anymore message me to tell me that their coworker, who's like completely have zero connection to, was posting my video on their page. And it was just because like the video was getting around. And this friend was like, sent me this thing and told me about it as a way of being like, oh, look at this. This is cool. But then they added, don't get a big head. Don't get a big head, Damon. But this really cool thing is happening for you. And it's awesome. But don't let it get to your head. And it's so weird when you think deeply about it. Like, what is that? Why do we feel like we need to protect our friends from getting a big head sometimes? And it would make me think, do I have a big head? Do I have like an inflated ego? Am I a little bit narcissistic? Am I prideful? Do people with big egos know that they have big egos? Or do their big egos not even allow them to ever realize it? So is this like a hopeless conundrum of like, how do I know? And so it's weird. And I don't think I have a big head. I don't actually think I have an issue with pride. I know I'm good at what I do, and I know ways that I can be better. Whoa. My iPhone just said, you're 542 feet above sea level. That was scary. Anyway, that threw me off. What was that? Oh yeah. So yeah, I know I'm good at what I do. I can be better. I know ways that I need to grow. But I don't want to be one of those writers or creative people that's constantly disparaging their work. I don't want to be that. And so what is this that people are afraid of, as if there's this risk that if I compliment my friend too much, then it can make them get a big head or become narcissistic. And it's my duty to protect my friend from becoming a narcissist. That's weird. So a couple years ago when I was journaling about this, I ended up talking to my therapist about these frustrations I was having and about, fake humility, people trying to make sure you don't get a big head. And I realized, there is this largely held belief that so many people in our culture have that if you compliment someone too much, there's a risk that they could become narcissistic. And my therapist said, people actually become narcissistic because of the opposite. We got it completely flipped around. People develop narcissism to quiet all the negative beliefs they have about themselves that are instilled in them when they are younger. Do you get that? People don't get narcissism because people are complimenting them and celebrating them a lot. They get narcissism because people are constantly belittling them when they're younger. And to compensate for that, they become very narcissistic, big-headed, always talking so highly about themselves in order to quiet those feelings of inadequacy and insecurity. So complimenting and celebrating people actually does the opposite of making them narcissistic. It actually helps people develop a good self-image, which stops them from becoming narcissistic or egotistical or big-headed or prideful or self-centered or full of themselves. Because all that behavior is just a coping mechanism to overcompensate and avoid their terrible negative self-image. So which one do you really struggle with? Do you have a big ego? Do you really think too highly of yourself? Do you really need to sit down and be humble? Or do you need to stop shrinking yourself? Have you actually just been surrounded by people who are uncomfortable with the ways that you express yourself and maybe make them feel a little insecure? And so they have to put you down. Like I remember a long time ago, I was in a bookstore and I was looking at some of the books on the shelf, and I overheard these two girls looking at books over there, and they were talking, and this one girl said, "Did you know I'm a writer?" And the other girl was like, "Oh, really?" And she's like, "Yeah, and I'm really good. Like I'm really good at writing." She's like, "Oh, really?" She's like, "Yeah. And sometimes I write this and sometimes I write that. And yeah, I'm really good." And I forget what the rest of the conversation was, but it was just funny to hear that in the background of this girl talking about how good she is at writing. And my initial feeling was annoyance and feeling like, who is this girl who thinks she's all that? But then I thought about it more and I'm like, wait, why am I annoyed? Oh, it's because it's bringing out some of my own insecurity to hear someone be so confident in themselves. I wish that I could be more like that. To have that confidence with my friends and be able to say, yeah, I'm a really good writer. I write really good stuff. No, like really good. But often I do feel like scared to say something like that, or have all these insecurities that would stop me from saying something like that. And I realized, like, oh yeah, that's just me. Like, there's no problem with her. She's chill, telling her friend that she's a really good writer. I need to check myself. I don't need to put her in check. But I think there's a lot of people in our lives who have insecurities that come out when you're confident and when you express yourself. And it feels like a threat to them because they're not as confident as they want to be. And so they feel the need to put you in check. They feel the need to tell you, don't get a big head. Feel the need to tell you, like, don't be prideful now. Hey, remember, it's all God. Calm down now. Settle down. And it makes you feel like you need to shrink yourself. But it's really just to make others comfortable. So, which one do you think you're dealing with, people? Now, I don't think it's all the way one or the other. I think it's more complex. It's more nuanced. That's what I'm trying to get at as I'm talking about all this. It's not just, okay, yeah, you need to realize you don't really ever have an issue with having a big ego ever. And it's not also not to say that it's always an issue of a big ego. It's like, it's just more complex than people make it seem to be. There's too much fear and insecurity tangled in this conversation to really figure out what you're actually feeling. And this inner conflict can make you start gaslighting yourself. I was a part of this like sort of spiritual type of community a really long time ago. And I had to confront this inner conflict between, do I need to be more humble or do I need to stop shrinking myself? And when you're in community with people, there's so much giving and receiving of energy. And it takes time to figure out the healthiest way to give and receive energy in community. But honestly, if I'm part of a community, I want to be able to use the gifts and skills I have to serve my community. That's the giving of energy part. And for me, that looks like communication, speaking, and writing. That's my thing, obviously. That's always been my thing. And if I'm not doing that, then I'm not doing it. That's partly what started this podcast. Is I was working on this book for a really long time, and I'm still working on it, but it took up a lot of my focus. And then I was going through a lot of mental health issues over the last couple of years, and I wasn't creating as much as I wanted to, but especially I wasn't putting stuff out, and that just made my mental health even worse. And then when I started this podcast, part of the inspiration was like, I need an outlet to like get stuff out, the stuff I'm thinking about, writing about, speaking about, and that'll help me start to feel better. And it did. It actually helped me feel a lot better. I've talked a bit about that in past episodes. And I continue to realize more and more as I get older that like I need to stay doing that. I need to stay communicating. That's just my thing. That's just what I do. That is how I love the world. Is through writing, speaking, communicating. And if I'm not doing it, then I feel sick, to be honest. And so I in this community, I didn't really get to do that. And there are other people leading it, and they wanted to do the communicating and be the communicators. And there are several situations that left me feeling overlooked and underappreciated, but I didn't know if I was just being self-centered for feeling like I wanted to be recognized more. Have you ever felt like that? Like something's off here. I think I should be treated differently. But is that just me being a jerk? Is that me just being full of myself? Self-centered? Wanting to be the center of attention? Or is there something off here? And then I started building this platform that I have now, making videos, podcasts, articles, books, speaking, and I met all kinds of people through this work that were from different spiritual communities throughout the country. And they would ask me if I regularly speak at the spiritual community that I was part of. And when I would tell them about how little that I actually do, they would be shocked and offended on my behalf and tell me about how much they would love it if I was a part of their community. And these people were like from across the country, and they could see some of the ways that I could give energy, that I could support people and use my gifts in a way that I felt like some of the other people couldn't. And so after a while, I had to stop gaslighting myself pretty much and realize actually it is weird that I feel like I need to shrink myself in this community. It is weird that I don't feel aligned here. Something is off. And I realized I needed to get closer to this other community that I'm connected to and give myself more fully there. And it worked out. But that inner conflict of like, am I just being self-centered? Do I just have a big ego? Am I just prideful? Am I just full of myself? Like that can make it so confusing to know if if you're really being valued as much as you should be valued or not. And it's not an easy thing. Like, is there this, and this? Then you know it's this or that. It's like, it's complex. It's complex with the people, with the timing, with what you want to do, with what the community is for. But it's important to be intentional about finding your people that you can fully express yourself with without fear. And really, when it comes to how much you share yourself, you need to have people in your life that you could share both. Find the people that you can trash yourself with. Find the people that you could brag about yourself with. Find the people that you could be your full self, express all the ways that you're thinking about yourself and your efforts without being scared that they're going to misinterpret you. Because that's the thing. It's like, it's both sides of this thing of, I think we need to stop being scared in general of people misinterpreting us being proud of ourselves. And at the same time, that is a genuine risk because people are always misinterpreting everybody. And you just need to find your people that you could share that part of yourself with without fear. Because the fake humility just ain't doing it. And so that's what I've learned about humility in my own life and pride and ego and all that. And I think, and I'm still learning for sure. I also wouldn't say I fully understand everything about myself. Definitely not. Still learning. But I am less afraid of having a big head, of seeming too prideful. That fear has slowly started to dissolve. And it feels good. And humility, man, I mean, I think humility isn't always just about putting yourself down. I think humility can often just be approaching everything with a sense of gratitude, with a sense of this can all just go away in a second, holding things lightly, being present, and realizing to not take yourself so seriously. I think that's what humility really is. And when it becomes this thing where you feel like you have to constantly police if you're being humble enough or not, it starts to look less and less and less like actual humility. Because it's the opposite of taking yourself too seriously, I think. And like I said, I'm still learning. And I guess that's part of humility too, isn't it? Still learning. Or is me calling out that I'm still learning as a humble thing make it no longer a humble thing? I don't know. But I hope you get that little back and forth conflict of trying to figure out, is it humility or is it not humility? Just defeats the whole purpose of humility. That's like one of my main points here of this podcast episode. So thank you for listening. I hope you got something out of this. Let me know in the comments. Leave a review. And keep enjoying this podcast. We'll see you next week for another Lent episode. Bye-bye.